Most documentary editions projects would have everything in chronological order. But with an FBI file the size of Eleanor's, and Eleanor does have the largest FBI file in history at the time of her death, we cheat. We have it in chronological order, but we also break it up by topic. So, for example, I am going to pull out right now the file folder of the FBI records on Eleanor's activity with opposing the House Committee on Un-American Activities. And you can see that the FBI clipped articles that discussed Eleanor's activities, some of which are in mainstream newspapers like the New York Times and the Washington Post, and also from propaganda journals like the Daily Worker and other organizations, newsletters. Then we also have field reports. And here's a field report from the special agent in charge in Boston to the J. Edgar Hoover, the director of the FBI, on the House Un-American Activities Committee. And here Eleanor Roosevelt shows up in this news report about what's being said about it, because they were very much in support of the FBI. Now you will see on some of these that this came from, oops, boy, where did this come from? Well, they've clipped it. We can't tell where it comes from because they've blacked it out. But you can see that it's clearly a newspaper article, and that we suspect that it's from the Providence Journal, Providence, Rhode Island, and you will see that it's about Eleanor's objections to labeling anybody who disagrees with the administration a communist. All of these were in the FBI files. I mean, the FBI had all of these in their records and read them and made notes on them. And you will see that a special agent in charge all across the country followed Eleanor Roosevelt. So she was indeed controversial. You could, without exaggeration, say that J. Edgar Hoover was obsessed with Eleanor Roosevelt. We got them through the Freedom of Information Act request. You can see they're so big that they cover 3 complete bins of material. It's fascinating. It's everything from the creation of Social Security to housing, to Joe McCarthy, to Eleanor's support of African Americans, her position on internment, her support of Adlai Stevenson, her involvement in the UN, what she says about different books that she reads. Well, it started really in about 33 is when you get formal records, but there's some when he was just head of the Refugee and Immigration Bureau, he begins to develop an interest with her as well. And in fact, J. Edgar Hoover tapes Eleanor Roosevelt's hotel rooms when she travels. And during the war, during World War II, Eleanor was very close to a young man named Joe Lash, who was dating a woman whose name was Trudy Pratt. And Eleanor was a matchmaker and had a suite. And when Joe was stationed on a base and could get leave, Eleanor would help arrange for Trudy and Joe to use her hotel room. And they would have romantic encounters, which would be taped by J. Edgar Hoover. And J. Edgar Hoover went to FDR and played these tapes. Now, anybody who knew Eleanor Roosevelt and anybody who knew Trudy would just howl in laughter, because Eleanor had this high voice that would just modulate all over the place. Trudy had this really deep, just really deep German accent. It was just like, whoa, And J. Edgar Hoover takes these tapes to FDR and says, see, I told you, she's having sex with a communist. It's right here. It's right here. And FDR instructs Hoover to destroy this material, that it is not true, but it is intrusive. And Hoover doesn't destroy it. It's the personal and confidential file that Hoover and his close associate, in quotes, Clive Tolson, take, and they remove it to Hoover's house.
And are those still available, those
Yeah,
tapes?
yeah, but I can't get them, but they're available. I know they're available. They're going to tell you they're not available, but in the old days where you have cassette answering machines, I have a cassette answering machine saying to me, it's a cassette answering machine tape saying to me that I can't have the tapes.
We must not for a moment lose sight of our goal, to teach the criminal that regardless of his subterfuges, his squirming, his twisting and slimy wriggling, he cannot escape the one inexorable rule of law enforcement: you can't get away with it.
Eleanor knew that the FBI had files on her, but she didn't care about it. The one time that she has an extensive exchange with J. Edgar Hoover is when it's about the excessive activities of HUAC, and she really thinks that the FBI should be involved with it. But then Hoover is quite offended by that. And then there is the great FBI story of when Eleanor is going to the Highlander Folk School in 1957. It's right after the whole throes of Little Rock Central High School. And Eleanor Roosevelt is 74 years old. She flies in to the Nashville airport. She lands at night. She's met by a 71-year-old white woman. And she's going to drive up the unlit, macadamized, black, dark roads in the hills of Tennessee to go to Swanee, which is where, Monteagle, Tennessee, which is where the Highlander Folk School is. And J. Edgar Hoover knows that the Klan is going to come get her. And they know that they're going to try to take her out. And so he waits until the day before Eleanor was supposed to leave to say to her, Mrs. Roosevelt, our informants have said, this is going to happen. And she says, thank you very much. I've never asked for your protection. I've given my word I'm going. And so Eleanor and the 71-year-old white woman drive up the mountains in the dark through the Klan who are trying to take her out, confront the Klan, drive through, reach the top of the mountain, give a workshop. We have the picture of the workshop in which she discusses how to engage in nonviolent civil disobedience and use the media to get the word out. The entire text of the FBI file is on our website.